But there really is something inside of each one of us that asks the question, is there really anything going on out there? Is there something behind everything? And of course, we as Muslims are going to say that yes, there is. One of the things that we should look at is evidence. And if you can understand the difference between evidence and malarkey, I don't know if you know malarkey. Everybody knows what's malarkey? You don't have that word, okay. Garbage, do you have this word? That's French for garbage. I think you got the picture. What we're trying to understand here is when you have something that's a real testable evidence, before you say, well, I have this proof or that proof, it should be something that you could test it yourself and then see, does it really work? One of the evidences that anybody who is a believer in the higher authority, the bigger power, whatever, they will say that there is, in history, no time throughout all of the history of human beings, except that there were people who did believe this. There was never a time that you can go back and say, hey, here's a place where people didn't believe in it. Archaeologists will be the first to tell you that these are signs that go back that far. They will tell you, oh, they were so superstitious. Look, they drew these pictures and thought it was their gods. But the fact that they did it proves that they were thinking there was something. Where do the people get this notion from? Another, in linguistics, if you study anything about languages, you find that every single language, and they were telling me that there was one language that had only about 100 words in it. I'm not an expert in languages, I don't remember which one it was, but that doesn't sound possible to me, does it to you? 100 words? Huh? No, must not have had too many women, I guess. Oops, that was a chauvinist joke. Uh-oh. Anyhow, who talks more, men or women? Men or women? I knew you were going to say that. Men or women? Men. Okay, that's it. Forget about it. Is it because your wife told you to say that? Well, you can't get anything going on here, man. They're well trained. Alhamdulillah. So they said that in every single language there was always a word for God. Now you might think, well, that's no big deal. Hold on. In the 1950s, when the United States was talking about putting our rocket ship, sending it up there and putting a deal that goes around and around and around the earth, we didn't have a name for it. We called it a Sputnik because the Russians called it a Sputnik because they did it first. But they realized the error of their ways pretty quick, saying, oh, we can't call it by a Russian name. That's like admitting they beat us. So that's why we had to come out with this name, and we said satellite. That's where we got the name satellite from. It was important. But by the way, before that happened, there was no word for it in English or Russian. You know why? You don't need a word for something you don't have, do you? Right or wrong? Before there were microwave ovens, did you have a word named microwave oven? Did you? Before we had cell phones? No, you didn't have cell phone. So if there's always been a word God, this is an indication, at least, that you could think about to say, well, why did people believe this? And as we've already mentioned, the majority of the human beings, well over 90%, even today, still believe there's something out there.